Greetings and salutations! Thus begins a series of videos on Geraldine Brooks's novel Year of Wonders, which, if you're in Year 12, is one half of your comparative text study unit. Now, this series of videos is pretty extensive because it's a long damn book, and it's a great damn book, and the summary also has a bunch of quotes for your benefit. Now, there are a lot of characters, so there's a lot to consume, but hopefully you're watching this after having read the book, and this is just consolidating what you took away from your first reading. Now, anyway, we'll go through this chapter by chapter, obviously beginning with Chapter 1. Now, the year is 1666, and our protagonist and narrator, Anna, is lamenting about the events of the past year, during which time her village, Eyam, was ravaged by the plague. Now, being at the other end of this, Anna describes how different things are now. People do not interact with each other and do not have the same zest for life that they once possessed before the plague. And Anna observes that those of us left walk around as if we're half asleep, and they would not laugh even if they remembered how to do so. So immediately there is this sense of emotional solemnity. Everyone is brimful of endings. That is, they're used to people dying. They're used to things ending. And even though Anna briefly reminisces about her happier memories, so too does she remark that these memories of happiness are fleeting things. She is currently working as an attendee tending to Rector Michael Montpelion, whose wife and Anna's good friend, Eleanor Montpelion, died during the past year. But even though Anna tends to Michael, he is unresponsive to her. Now, Anna also thinks about her past, namely her ex-husband, who was a miner and died in a mining accident. She also thinks about her two sons, Jamie and Tom, who also passed away from the plague. Now, shortly after this, Anna is visited by Elizabeth Bradford, who is the daughter of the Bradfords, who were formerly very rich members of the Eyam community. But they abandoned the village when they found out that the plague was present. Now, as a result, Anna is not too excited to see Elizabeth. Elizabeth, however, has come seeking the assistance of Michael Montpelion because her mother is unwell. Now, an illness is not specified. All we know is that it is lethal. Now, this is the first time that Michael Montpelion ascends from his depressed stupor and rejects the woman coldly, saying that she should go to God directly, but whom Montpelion also deems as a poor listener, which is a pretty savage thing for a rector to say about God. Now, upon escorting Elizabeth away, Anna watches the woman break down and confess that her mother is likely going to die and her father, Colonel Bradford, has abandoned them. Shocker. But when she realizes she's said too much, she promptly leaves. Now, Anna returns to Montpelion, who is sitting with a Bible. She takes it and reads a passage that advises not to forget the benefits of God. But Montpelion takes the Bible back and he reads another passage, one that characterizes one's wife and children as fruitful vines and olive shoots in one's home and around one's table. Now, at this point, Michael glares at Anna and drops the Bible to the floor, also stopping Anna's hand when she goes to catch it. It's like a mic drop, but it's a Bible drop. It's like a Bible drop. At this point, Anna leaves the room. Chapter 2. Now, we flash back a whole year to springtime in 1665, before the beginning of the plague. Now, Anna is living with her two sons, Jamie and Tom, and their babysitter, Jane Martin. Now, Anna meets a young man, George Vickers, who moves in with her, and she remembers that he brought laughter back into the house. He does this by playing with her sons and sharing stories with her about his travels. Now, she revels in his powers of description, she enjoys his stories, and later on, when he makes a dress for her because he fashions clothes for a living, he's a tailor, she begins to fall for him. Now, even though she's having these feelings, such strong feelings, she is weary of how it might look. A widowed woman, such as herself, and a man living in the same house. Now, of course, this was not normal. It was normal for a man and a woman to live together only after they were married. Now, because Anna fears that they approach too near to terms of friendship, she is hesitant when Vickers eventually makes the moves on her and tries to kiss her. But she pulls away when he tries this because she feels a heat coming off from him, a feverish heat, which elicits her concern. Now, sure enough, when she returns home the next day, she finds that Vickers is bedridden and afflicted with the plague. Now, she doesn't know it's the plague at the time, but he passes away. And upon retrospect, Anna notes that she had thought God had sent him. Later, there are those who would say it had been the devil. Obviously, because he was the first traceable case of the plague, the wretched illness, he was arguably the person who introduced into the village the plague in the first place. Now, because of this, Vickers also warns Anna to burn all of his belongings and the foul contagion. The chapter ends with his death, which is presided over by both Anna and Michael Montpelion, who commends Anna on the joy that she had brought him in his final weeks. Now, before I finish up chapter 2, it's also important to note that in this chapter, Anna begins to develop a relationship with Eleanor Montpelion, Michael Montpelion's wife, and she becomes a mentor figure to Anna. Eleanor teaches Anna how to read, and she also teaches her about medicinal plants and herbs, which Anna has expressed an interest in, but is also apprehensive towards because she knows how easy it is for widow to be turned witch in the common mind, because it's believed that herbs and plants can be used in witchcraft. Now, she references two members of the community, Mem Gowdy and her niece, Annis Gowdy, who are the village experts in medicinal herbs, and even how Mem Gowdy in the past was once accused of witchcraft, but ultimately cleared. Chapter 3. Now, after George Vickers' body is retrieved by the sexton, Anna is visited by Annis Gowdy, one of the village's chief experts in medicinal herbs, and she questions why Anna went to Michael Montpelion for help instead of herself. Now, during this conversation, Anna has also become suspect of the familiarity with which Anna speaks about George Vickers, and this is in the way that she refers to him by his first name, which Anna never did herself. She called him Mr. Vickers. Now, Anna also considers Vickers' last warning, which was to burn everything he owned in order to avoid spreading the contagion. Anna tries to do this. However, everyone that had Vickers working on a garment for them, they choose instead to take what they were due, regardless of how incomplete the garment was, rather than burn it. Now, Anna ends up burning only Vickers' own clothes and the dress that he made for her. Now, Anna then goes to Annis's home, the Gowdy's cottage, where she hopes to learn more about how familiar Annis was with Vickers before he passed. Now, Annis confesses that she lay with him, but it was more of a fling, and she was the one that advised Vickers to pursue Anna and to do that through bonding with her children, since she is a mother. Now, Anna is unsure of what to do with this information. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. Vickers is dead, and so she leaves for work. Now, work for Anna is the Bradford Hall, where she sometimes works for the Bradfords as a servant when they have large gatherings. Now, these Bradfords are the same Bradfords who, as we learned in chapter 1, left the village shortly after learning of the plague's presence. Now, at this gathering are the Bradfords, the Montpelions, and other highly regarded families in the community, and they begin to discuss how they would handle the plague. There's been news that plague was detected in London, which has caused many of its inhabitants to flee. As a perfect example of foreshadowing, the Bradfords argued that the best physic against the plague is to run far from it, while the Montpelions express a contrary opinion that if God saw fit to send this scourge, then they should remain where they are and not leave in order to prevent the seeds of plague from infecting other villages. They believe that they should face the disease themselves so that they can contain its evil. Now, fearful that Vickers, who often regaled Anna with stories of his travels, had been in London and thus contracted the infection from his time there, she rushes home to see if her own children, who had been playing with Vickers for the past several weeks, are infected. She thanks God that they are fine. For now. Chapter 4. After the death of George Vickers, there is a phase of mighty fine weather, nice sunlight, and warm weather which elicits Anna's praise and gratitude. Now, this perhaps also mirrors her gratitude that her children are not ill. She reflects that her sons, especially Jamie, lament the death of George Vickers, who they had grown quite fond of. She tries to cheer her boys up, so she lets them accompany her outdoors, where she finds one of her female sheep. She has a flock. She finds one of her female sheep in labor, and Jamie, her oldest son, helps her deliver a lamb from that pregnant sheep. Now, after this, they wash up in a nearby stream. Anna breastfeeds Tom, her younger son, while Jamie plays in the water. Now, they are interrupted by Michael Montpelion, who passes by while reading from a book. He sits with Anna for a while and shares Anna's appreciation of the weather, which he deems as part of the goodness of God. Now, Montpelion plays with Anna's children, and Anna is surprised by the way he seems to be so competent and familiar with her children. Now, after this, Montpelion begins to talk to Anna about the book he was reading, which was about the ordinary daily miracles of life. He reads certain sections to her, which Anna enjoys, and later on, Anna returns home. But before she goes inside, her son, Jamie, tells her to wait outside. He goes inside the house, he runs up the stairs, and he opens a window above Anna, after which he showers her with rose petals. Ah, bae! Now, Anna thinks of this memory very fondly, so much so that she says that this moment is my miracle. Now, over the next several days, Anna prepares for the coming winter. She exchanges labor, which she characterizes as hard and hateful work, for a portion of bacon from her neighbors, the Hadfields, which will last her and her sons for several weeks. Now, during this time, her son Jamie and another son, Edward Cooper, are found playing with dead rats. Now, again, a bit of foreshadowing of the expanding plague. It's getting the rats first. Now, with the advent of more cloudy and rainy weather also comes the advent of fleas, which Anna explains feasted on my tender children. Now, this prompts her to seek out Annis for a potential balm to treat her kids with, but she also wants to talk more about how to manage alone as a woman in the world. But when she goes to the Gowdy College, she finds Mem instead. Now, Mem explains that she was on her way to Edward Cooper anyway, who is burning up with a fever. Yes, the same Edward Cooper playing with the dead rats with Jamie. It's coming! It's coming! They return to the Hadfields together, but Mem is turned away from them since they already called for a barber surgeon, who is currently with the boy. Now, Mem makes a sour face at this, but continues to help anyway. In the house, Anna sees the boy naked, covered in leeches. The barber surgeon uses vinegar to remove the leeches, and when he departs, Anna asks him if it could be the plague. Now, at first, the barber surgeon is skeptic, if only because the plague has not been seen in 20-some years. But Anna cautions that because it hasn't been seen in so long, perhaps he would overlook or even misinterpret its symptoms. Now, the barber surgeon is offended, but Anna explains that she has seen characteristic symptoms of the plague in George Vickers, those symptoms being lumps at the neck and rosy rings on the body. And he was lodging in her house, and obviously in close proximity to the Hadfields since they're neighbors. Now, at this, the barber surgeon said, "Good luck, bitch, don't ask for me again, I'm out of here." Anyway, so Edward dies. He's dead before sunset, which is pretty sad, and within a fortnight, several other Hadfield members also fall ill, and another son dies as well. So the Hadfields are having a pretty bad time. Now, Anna's youngest son, Tom, he dies as well. Now, after Tom's death, Anna is visited by her stepmother, Afra, who says that Anna is a fool for having let herself love her child. She says, "It is folly and ill fortune to love a child until it walks and is well grown." Heartless bitch! Now, Afra also gives Anna a hagstone to hang over Tom in order to keep evil spirits from taking his soul, which is kind of weird, but it's important because it's one of the examples of Afra harboring a wealth of superstitions. She is a superstitious creature, and that is something that's important to the story. Now, shortly after, Anna is visited by Eleanor, who sits with her and reads to her for a while. Now, Anna sleeps that night with her dead baby Tom in her arms, only to wake up the next morning to find that in his decay, he is bled profusely from his throat and from his bowels, bathing her in a pool of blood. Now, she wakes that morning to a wild voice howling, only to soon realize that it is her own voice. Bloody hell, that is depressing. Chapter 5. Now, Anna is still grieving the death of Tom, but before she can do this fully, so too does her oldest son, Jamie, fall ill. Now, Eleanor accompanies Anna and confesses that Montpellier suspected the plague the second he saw Vickers in his condition, and as such, he sent a letter to the University of Cambridge, where he himself used to be a student, asking his teacher friends for remedies against the plague. Now, Anna tries these, but they achieve very little. If anything, all it does is prolong the inevitable and at the expense of Jamie's comfort. She comments that some of the treatments cause him pain, and as such, she laments that it is the hardest thing in the world to inflict hurt on your own child, even if you believe you act for his salvation. Now, Annis Gowdy also appears, giving additional remedies to Jamie and singing to him, which calms him, but she also knows that she is only delaying his death. It's another 5 days of suffering for Jamie before he too passes away. Why, God, why? Now, even though Anna is grieving for him, so too does she become aware that many of her neighbors are falling ill and dying in a similar fashion. Now, the Montpelliers pray over Jamie's body, and Anna fights the sexton who comes for Jamie's body, understandably. He is buried beside his brother Tom at the church where several other plague victims have started to be buried. The only remark that Anna registers at this time is that in the midst of life, we are in death. Now for a fortnight, Anna is in a numbed mental state, not really paying attention to anything she's doing. She questions why so many people around her have started to die, like her lodger Vickers, her neighbors, the Hadfields, and even her sons. She questions why she hasn't been afflicted yet herself. For this, she has no answer or estimation. Now, it's not until part of her flock of sheep wanders off that Anna goes in search for it, whereupon she overhears some yelling from a nearby mine. When she approaches, she sees that a group of a dozen or so people, most of whom are visibly drunk, have bound Mem Gowdy with a rope and are accusing her of being the witch who has brought the plague upon them. Now, this crowd includes Mary Hadfield, Anna's neighbor who has just lost her whole family to the plague, and she holds Mem responsible. Now, Anna attempts to intervene and defend Mem, but the people are unresponsive. Instead, they drag Mem to the mine, which is flooded with water, in the hope to drown her. Now, Anna fights them, but she is knocked aside and she knocks her head. When she comes to, she hears the crowd yelling about Mem sinking in the water, apparently proving that she is not a witch. But no one does anything. Anna attempts to dive in, but she ends up sort of almost falling instead. She is caught by Annis Gowdy, who has appeared, and after Annis saves Anna, she dives in after Mem herself. Now, Annis retrieves Mem's body from the water and manages to resuscitate her. However, this only causes the crowd of people to accuse her of being a witch because she was able to revive an allegedly dead Mem. As further evidence of this, one of the crowd says that Annis lay with George Vickers, who was the original carrier of the plague and who was also a man-witch, and Annis was apparently his vessel. Now, as a result, the crowd seizes Annis, even though both Annis and Anna fight them, and Annis is also accused of having slept with many other men, including the husbands of several women in the group. Now, Anna tries to flee and retrieve Montpellier, but she is knocked down again. The crowd ties a rope around Annis's neck, wanting to hang her, but then Annis confesses. She says that yes, she did lie with the devil, and she also says that all of the wives have lay with the devil as well, sometimes in orgies with his big dick. Now, Annis threatens the crowd, saying that if they kill her, the devil will avenge her, and this momentarily makes the crowd hesitate. However, it's Anna's good intentions when she advises Annis not to lie to them. It's these good intentions that perhaps becomes Anna's undoing, because at this point, the men finally push Annis into the mine, and she is hung. Now, one of the men in the group then turns on his wife, asking if she did in fact sleep with the devil, but before she can even answer, he starts to beat her. Now, Montpellier soon arrives, yelling and angry. He was retrieved by one of the girls in the group, Lib Hancock. He retrieves the body of Annis, and while everyone says she confessed to sleeping with the devil, Montpellier explains that they are fools, ignorant wretches, because the only reason that she did that was to fight them with the only weapon that she had left under the circumstances, which were their own ugly thoughts and evil doubting of one another.